Garbage time points in Las Vegas. Garbage time points against Kansas City. Garbage time points against Tampa Bay. Um, they were not close in these games against playoff teams. Garbage time points in Dallas. They were not close in any of those games. Um, they're not ready.
We are the Mac and Mac guys. Got McMullen, Jody, McMullen here with Young Bird 365. Show number 197. We're sneaking up on 200, John. Friday we'll do our 200 show. Unfortunately, it's that many more days to the start of next season. We got 200 and change days before we get to talk about an Eagle game again. This will be a slow offseason because we're just underway. But at least we're going to have plenty to talk about because... And again,
biggest draft in franchise history. Like it was super wild card weekend. It's the super draft. I'm decreeing it. Super draft.
As well you should. 3 first-round picks. Yeah, let's go there then. Super wild card weekend. That blow up in the NFL's face? Or are you going to give me the same story, which you always did do, rightfully so? They're bulletproof, Joe. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how bad they screw things up. They're still the NFL. They throw it on TV, and people flock to it.
Oh, yeah.
In tens of millions of numbers.
I know the numbers for last night are going to be astronomical. So, yeah, I mean, people say what they want. People, I can't even look at my Twitter during games because I brought it up a little bit before, the officiating, the constant complaints about the officiating. It just gets old to me. It is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. And it's just, everybody talks about how terrible it is and it's the worst it's ever been. You're not turning off the TV, so what do they care? They're not going to fix anything. I mean, they should go to a sky judge at all times and get everything right and just radio down and say, hey, guys, you got that one wrong. They do it on some plays. They don't do it on other plays. And it would clean things up dramatically. It would make things quicker. I've had this discussion with people at the league office more so, and I probably told you the story, Jody, because they want to make this league popular outside of this country because football is a uniquely American sport. It's not like basketball or soccer or hockey where other countries like it and understand it. Nobody else stinking understands football outside of this country unless you grew up with it. And nobody gets that in the NFL office. They're like, what do you mean? I asked them, this game's kind of complicated for people. If you could imagine you're my age, Jody, or your age, and you grew up in France, and you're like trying to figure out an NFL game, it's not going to go well for you. Not going to go well for you. I've been covering this league for over 20 years, and I don't know all the rules. They'll pull out some arcane, and I'm like, what? And just this week, the umpire came into it.
Yeah, perfect example. The Dallas game that there's a whole bunch of guys.
No, I knew that, but a lot of people.
The referee has to set the ball. They probably said to themselves, "Oh, that's true." That they didn't really realize it at the moment.
Nobody.
They had to hear about it.
I can't tell you how many times I saw that clip, and they're saying, "What is the official doing, bumping into Dak Prescott? He's trying to help Dak Prescott."
Yes.
Dak Prescott made the mental mistake. The umpire's got to handle the football and place the football down after every play. That's why you don't run a quarterback draw with 14 seconds and no timeouts. And that was a bad decision by whoever made that decision, whether it was Kellen Moore or Mike McCarthy or Dak Prescott, and probably a combination of all three. And then when you are Dak Prescott, you have to have the common sense to say, hand that football to the umpire. And then you have the sliding goalposts, so to speak. Then after they figure out all the critics, oh, that is right. The umpire's got to hold the ball. He didn't make a mistake. Then they start talking about his lack of athleticism, the poor guy. Oh, he's too far behind the play. Oh, he can't catch up. Oh, he's not the same level of athlete as Dak Prescott. Well, yeah, duh. But yeah, things like that. And guess what, Jody? They'll all tune in this weekend. They're all tuned in this weekend. So the NFL has no sort of impetus for change other than, I don't know. Some of the things they do change, I scratch my head. Um, why they try to make the game over legislated, which I talked to you a lot about that. It drives me crazy, but I can't control it. So I'm not going to complain about it.
Well, and this is one thing they won't change, and this won't go over well with Eagle fans. Last year they expanded the playoffs, so this is year 2 of the 7-team
Yeah,
playoffs.
seven is too much.
This year they went to 3 days of it to emphasize the fact that they've got this many teams making the playoffs with the first ever Monday night playoff game. How did 2 7th place teams fare this week, both from the state of Pennsylvania? Not good. Not good at all.
The Eagles might have been the best of that group. May have been slightly better,
more competitive than the Steelers were going to Kansas City. So those are your 2 7th rounders. Not. But again, they get an extra game for TV. They flip it up there on Monday night on ESPN. It'll do Buffo numbers, even though it was a snooze fest. I went over to Raw at times because the Rams Cardinal game is not keeping my attention. So boom, I was on the USA Network. Yeah, the NFL doesn't care because people will just stay tuned. They've got action on the game.
Now there's and I had to look it up. There's a little bit of overreaction because obviously this is the only the second year with the 7 seed. So I don't remember. Everything draws together. Last year, Buffalo was the 2, Indianapolis was the 7. It was a 27-24 game. So really competitive. And then on the NFC side, it was New Orleans and Chicago, which was 21-9, which isn't great, but it's not horrific. I mean, it's not embarrassing.
Yeah, but it was Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, well, that's a tough watch. But anytime Mitch is out there, but the final score at least wasn't embarrassing. But yeah, there's not 14 good teams in this league. So that's why divisional weekend. This will be the best weekend of year. If you're just a pure football fan,
yep,
you're going to see good teams against good teams.
And you get 2 games on Saturday and 2 games on Sunday. So you're right. It should be the highest quality of football. And oh, by the way, I did write the point spreads down. If you believe that tells you anything, which I do, but not everybody does. Titans are a 3.5-point choice. The Packers are a 5.5-point choice. The Bucks are a 3-point choice. And the Chiefs are only a 2.5-point, less than a field goal choice over the Bills. So we had a couple over a touchdown lines this past week, including a double-digit number in the Kansas City-Pittsburgh game. You're not getting any of that this week because, you got the 8 best teams left, and it's not even close.
Yeah, and there is most of this league, I would say the vast majority of this league, and this is, by the way, where the Eagles deserve some credit, to be honest. They beat the teams for the most part they were supposed to beat. And if you do that, you got a chance to be in the playoffs. The one notable exception would be the Giants game, which is a game they should have won, and it would have been easier for them. But they were 0-7 against playoff teams. And they lost by an average of just under 14 points. So 2 touchdowns in those games. Now, one of them is an outlier, week 18 against Dallas, and because you're right, that was the junior varsity. But then again, Jody, think about all those games early where there were garbage time, and then think about Tampa Bay, garbage time points in Las Vegas, garbage time points against Kansas City, garbage time points against Tampa Bay. They were not close in these games against playoff teams. Garbage time points in Dallas. They were not close in any of those games. They're not ready to compete.
Right, but I'll say this. Now, this is going to fly in the face of my own argument. The Tampa game got them within 1 score earlier in the year.
That was,
And if they make a stop, and I got a guy who calls me on WIP all the time, he keeps referencing the Jannard Avery taunting foul on the sidelines, which gave the Bucks a gift 15 yards.
Officiating
That was
again.
A god awful call. Get a stop then. That was like their first set of downs. Okay, now you're going to get a tougher stop, and you're going to have to come further down the field if you do get that stop. But nothing said because they handed you 15 yards that you have to stop playing defense. And Tom Brady just kept making play after play after play after play. But when you get to one score with 4 minutes left in the game and you need a defensive stop, then you take the garbage time aspect out of it. You actually made it a game. Like their scores, yes, down 31-0. Those 2 touchdowns mean zero, nothing. They mean nothing. That game, the game here in Philadelphia earlier this year, you got within 1 score. Can't call that garbage time.
Well, yeah, I guess, it's definitely closer, no question about it, than 31-0. I can tell you, I remember that game well. I never got a feeling that the Eagles were in it. Other people did, though. So other people did. That was one of those where, I think Tampa Bay kind of fell asleep, and if they wanted to, they could have just turned the engine on again and done what they essentially wanted. But that's just a personal. I don't think they were as close. They certainly, but the other games I mentioned were complete garbage time points.
Very true.
Vegas, Dallas, Kansas City, that was all garbage time. And there was another
Wentz
game.
Had a couple of those. Hurts had a couple of those games that really did pump up his stats.
Yeah,
that he got points in the fourth quarter, yards in the fourth quarter that had no impact on the outcome of the game.
By the way, you can throw the Chargers. If you want to throw Week 18 out because the Eagles didn't play, you can throw the Chargers in there as the team that almost made the playoffs on the AFC side. They weren't in that game either, really. So they were not competitive against the better teams on their schedule, to say the least.
Weren't they tied with the Chargers in the fourth quarter?
Were they? All right, maybe I'll have to relook that.
Yeah, no, Chargers kicked the late field goal to win the game.
All right, yeah. Everything runs together.
Game they were in, they had to come. If the point is the Eagles were always having to come from behind, sometimes so far behind that you call it garbage time. Yes, other games where they just had to rally to make it competitive and give themselves a puncher's chance. Yes, that's on Nick. That's on the offense. They fall behind. The slow starting. Now they slow start on defense too, but worse on offense. That even when they became a successful running team, that would happen against bad teams like Washington and New York.
Yeah.
Why the hell do you always have to be down 7-0? Why do you have to be down 10-0 every single week?
A lot, because you win the toss and defer a lot. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. I don't know.
My wounds, Johnny Mac. You're doing that on purpose, aren't you? You're just doing it to get my goat. You got to go back to the deferring that is annoying me greatly.
Well, I get, to me, it annoyed me. We're actually on the same page there. It annoyed me this week because I talked about, again, not the specific coin toss, but the mentality of playing certain opponents from an offensive head coach. I literally talked to Nick about it, and he mentioned the nuance, and he mentioned every game's different, and he mentioned you have to factor all these things in, and he talked about it, he verbalized it, and I didn't see it. But it's interesting in some aspects. I did see, and I know we got to get the break because Chris is going to be on here. I did see sort of a normalization that he talked about. You got to treat it the same in some aspects. And then in other aspects, I thought he went completely off that thought process with the wide receiver screens and the RPOs and all that nonsense that wasn't working. Right. They went back.
He showed the ability to adjust.
So
when something's not working. Hello. Don't defer when you got the GOAT sitting over there ready to take over the football and go down the field against your defense. That's just
so. In a lot of ways, maybe it just comes down to a rookie head coach being in his first game and making mistakes, and hope he learns from it.
Yeah, John. There are a lot of things. Once you snap the ball for the first time, everything else changes because the previous play affects the previous play, and I get it. The coin toss is the same. You don't have to prep for the coin. If you can't prep for the
Well, no,
coin
they're not
toss,
changing
why
that.
the f- are you coaching a National Football League team?
No, they're not. They're not changing that. I'm talking about the in-game stuff. I mean, that's just that's what they believe. Defer.
Dumb. It's dumb. It's dumb. It's dumb. He's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald, a non-dumb individual. Our buddy Chris Franklin from NJ.com is going to join us next right here on Birch 365.